Imagine you are playing a complex strategy video game, and you have to constantly defend your central headquarters. To keep your entire map alive, that headquarters has to constantly push vital energy and resources outward through a massive network of supply lines. But things break, so a good game gives you an automatic repair protocol, a system that instantly patches up any broken pipes before you lose critical resources. Human survival will run this exact same strategy. Your heart is the central base, blood vessels are the supply lines, and the process of blood clotting is your automatic built-in repair system. Let's look at the actual base. Your physical heart is about the size of your fist, tucked safely right behind your breastbone or sternum. Before we look inside, we need to check the outer armor. The heart is surrounded by a protective force field called the pericardium. The pericardium is basically a tough, double-layered sac that completely encloses the heart. And it isn't dry. This sac is filled with a special, slippery, lubricating fluid. Your heart beats about 100,000 times every single day. If it were totally dry, it would constantly grind against your lungs and ribs. That lubricating fluid allows the heart to slide smoothly against everything, protecting it from literally wearing itself out. Once you get past that slippery outer shield, you hit the actual walls of the base itself, the myocardium. The myocardium is the thick, highly muscular middle layer of the heart. Think of it like the reinforced steel walls of a bunker. It simply has to be this thick. Without a massive amount of physical muscle, the heart wouldn't be able to generate the heavy squeezing force required to push blood all the way down to your toes and back up against gravity. Look at this textbook excerpt. The septum divides the heart into 4 rooms. The top 2 are the atria. They act as receiving ducts, collecting blood from the body. The bottom 2 are ventricles. These launch pads forcefully pump blood out. Because their jobs are so different, their physical designs are different. The atria up top have very thin walls, but the pumping ventricles at the bottom are heavily armored and thick. The underlying architecture directly dictates the job. Thin walls for gently receiving at the top, and massive, thick muscle for launching blood out from the bottom. So the base is pumping energy outward. But what happens when a supply line breaks? Say you scrape your knee. Step number 1 is the physical injury itself. The blood vessel is physically torn open, exposing the inside of the tube to the outside world. Step number 2 is the process of rapid constriction. Instantly, the blood vessel reflexively pinches and squeezes itself as tightly as possible to reduce the flow of liquid rushing toward the exit. This signals the arrival of the first responders, platelets. Platelets, or thrombocytes, are tiny cell fragments produced in your bone marrow that constantly float through your bloodstream looking for trouble. That immediate physical pinching of the pipe buys just enough time for the platelet repair crew to arrive before you lose a dangerous amount of blood. Step 3 is activation. The damaged tissue releases chemical SOS signals. When the platelets hit those signals, they physically change shape. They become spiky and extremely sticky. That leads to step 4, the plug. Those sticky platelets clump rapidly together in the hole. It's a lot like aggressively stuffing marshmallows into a cracked water pipe. It stops the immediate disaster. But a marshmallow plug is fragile. It can't hold up against the intense pressure of your heartbeat for very long without structural reinforcement. To get that reinforcement, we move to step 5. The injured cells and the dying platelets send out a final, urgent chemical call for heavier materials. Looking back at the text, special plasma proteins arrive in the blood, specifically thrombin and fibrinogen. Think of these as chemical concrete. In step 6, these proteins interact, weaving an incredibly strong web of fibers over our fragile platelet plug. Finally, in step 7, this creates a solid mass called a fibrin clot. You know this physical barrier better by its everyday name, a scap. This final seal does exactly what a base defense system should. It keeps the vital resources safely trapped inside, and it builds an impenetrable wall to keep invading pathogens out. So let's review the mechanics of the system. You have a 4-room muscular pump pushing resources, and a 7-step chemical protocol ready to seal any leaks. Keep 3 core things in mind for your exam. First, structure equals function. The top receiving rooms, the atria, are thin, while the bottom pumping rooms, the ventricles, are built thick and heavy. Second, remember your first responders. Platelets, or thrombocytes, are the cell fragments that create the initial temporary plug. And third, it's a team effort. A permanent seal requires plasma proteins like thrombin and fibrinogen to step in and weave the final solid fibrin clot. Understand that underlying game logic, and you have exactly what it takes to ace your test on the human circulatory system.